Hey everybody, welcome to Crack Pack Tuesday, number 151 on the Mana Leak. I'm John as always, and we've got ourselves another pack of Dominaria here. We're going to crack this open, we're going to see what's in it, and we're going to discuss what we would take pack one, pick one if this was a draft. Now, these, of course, are sponsored now. If you are a patron at the $5 level or above, you are randomly entered in a draw to win all of the cards in this pack, and this week, these cards are going to go to Tom, so I'll be in touch with Tom on Patreon to find out if he wants the rare, the foil, none of the cards, all the cards, some of the cards, whatever. But let's get to cracking. So up first, we have ourselves a Skirk Prospector. Skirk Prospector is a single red mana for a creature goblin. It's a 1/1. Sacrifice a goblin, add red. This card's bad. It's just bad. 1/1s for one that don't do anything, which this one basically doesn't do anything, isn't good. Getting a single red once if you sacrifice itself, not worth it. There's no real goblins deck. It's just a garbage card. Never, ever, ever play this card. Certainly never first pick it. Up next is Dominaria Trapper. Dominaria Trapper is 2 and a white for a creature human archer. She's a 3/2. Whenever you cast a historic spell, tap target creature an opponent controls. Trapper's fine. I've had a lot of success with this in even mildly historic decks. If you trigger this even 2 or 3 times, it's usually fine enough as a 3/2 for 3. It's obviously better if you are deep in a blue-white historic deck, but you're never first picking this. Up next is Coldwater Snapper. Coldwater Snapper is 5 and a blue for a creature turtle. It's a 4/5 with hexproof. It's a big, dumb hexproofer. It's exactly Benthic Giant from Theros. It's fine. I'm not a fan of playing it. Yes, you can absolutely steal wins just by throwing an Arcane Flight on this, and or even worse, on Sarah's Wings. But you know, at that point, we're into a 2-card combo, and you're just not always going to pull it off. It's a fine include, though, if you're looking for a top end, if you're looking for a way to you know, kind of reach the late game, or if you do have that combo, it's fine. It's just, it's fine. That's about all I can say. It's never a first pick. Up next is Fervent Strike. Fervent Strike is a single red mana for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike and haste, which I always forget about, until end of turn. It's okay. It's a good, okay combat trick. I always like the red first strike combat tricks because it typically means you're winning that combat as long as your creature is even slightly similarly sized to the attacking or blocking creature. But it's not a first pick, and it's a card that you'll cut pretty reliably. I would probably actually play Run Amok over this just because +3/+3 is pretty good. Up next is Dark Bargain. Dark Bargain is 3 and a black for an instant. A lot of people forget that it is an instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand, and the other one into the graveyard. Dark Bargain deals 2 damage to you. This is fine. If you are playing a deck that is relatively slow, that doesn't mind passing the turn on turn 4, maybe you even have some removal or some bounce or something that you can cast if you get a juicy target, and if you don't, you take the Dark Bargain and you kind of, you know, get some cards for just 2 life, which is not a big deal. But it's not a first pick, and it's a card that I do cut somewhat reliably. Up next is Llanowar Scout. Llanowar Scout is 1 and a green for a creature elf scout. It's a 1/3. You can tap it and put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. This reads so much better than it is. It will typically get you maybe 1 extra land, and that's about it, because very rapidly, you're either flooding out, which sucks because you're not playing actual cards, and you do get to, you know, play 2 lands a turn, or 1 land on your turn, 1 land on an opponent's turn, you know, 2 or 3 times, or you're drawing gas and you're playing 1 land a turn because you don't have any other lands in your hand. So Llanowar Scout kind of falls off a fair bit. I'll still play the first one if I have a spot. It's very 23rd. You know, the 2 mana 1/3s do block decently in this format, but it's never a first pick. Up next is Guardians of Koilos. Guardians of Koilos is 5 generic mana for an artifact creature construct. It's a 4/4. When Guardians of Koilos enters the battlefield, you may return another target historic permanent you control to its owner's hand. I've never had success with this. It's a 5 mana 4/4, so it's overcosted, and I've never really wanted to return a historic permanent. There's definitely some cute things you can do with Time of Ice, or you know, the really good historic, really good sagas where you might want to not do chapter 3 and recast it and start over again. But that works a lot better when you can do it at instant speed, so you can do it with the 3rd chapter on the stack. Ultimately, Guardians of Koilos just hasn't really impressed me at all, so I'm never really ever playing it, let alone first picking it. Up next is Baloth Gorger, a potential first pick, and definitely the first pick for this pack so far. Baloth Gorger is 2 green for a creature beast. It's a 4/4, but if you kick it for 4, so you make it an 8-drop, it comes down as a 7/7. It gets 3+1/+1 counters. A 4/4 for 4, fine, totally playable. And if you've hit the late game, you get an 8/8, or you get a 7/7 for 8. Totally fine as well. The versatility on this, the fact that it can be used on turn 4, used on turn 7, and be totally relevant in both of those cases is great. This card's not amazing, but you generally wouldn't cut it unless your deck was just overflowing with good stuff. So this is going to be the first pick for the moment. Up next is Rescue. Rescue is a single blue mana for an instant. Return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. I still don't care for this card. I've heard a couple of people come a little bit up on it, but it's just still so super narrow that I'm not really interested in it. If your opponent's playing a ton of removal, maybe if you can really get them with like a Time of Ice doing this on the 3rd chapter trigger, maybe, but I still haven't seen it done. And I'm not going to do it myself. So I'm out on Rescue. I would never play it, and certainly not a first pick. Keldon Raider is up next. Keldon Raider is 2 red for a creature human warrior. It's a 4/3. When Keldon Raider enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It's fine. It's totally fine. I've come down on this a little bit. I was pretty high on that, like quite high on this to start, because 4/3 for 2 red has always been fine. And this is still fine as a 4/3. And the extra value of looting, if need be, is relatively decent. But I think red has just been a bit of a weaker color for me, that I haven't really been grabbing these Raiders that highly. I would not consider it a first pick, and I would certainly not consider it a first pick against Gorger. So currently, I'm out on the Keldon Raider. And that is our last common. And that is 10 commons, so unfortunately no foil. But boy, did we get an uncommon. Sarah Angel. Sarah Angel is 3 white for a creature angel. She's a 4/4, flying vigilance. She's a bomb all the way back from 1993 alpha. She was first pickable then if you were drafting, but I wouldn't recommend ever drafting alpha or beta or anything really before Mirage. But she's still first pickable now. She's fantastic, and certainly is going to stick around in frame. Our second uncommon is Sanctum Spirit. Sanctum Spirit is 3 and a white for a creature spirit. It's a 3/2 lifelink. You can discard a historic card, which you basically never want to do. You're never discarding Danatha or Embolus's Clutches or anything like that to this. You'd pitch a Navigator's Compass to it, but why are you playing Navigator's Compass if you don't have a great reason? And this is not a great reason. Yeah, Sanctum Spirit has really unimpressed me. It's still a 3/2 lifelink for 4, so I'd still probably play them, but it would be kind of like 21st, 22nd card. So not a first pick, certainly not against Sarah Angel. Our rare, so our legendary is going to be behind as an uncommon, is Daring Archaeologist. Daring Archaeologist is 3 and a white for a creature human artificer. It's a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact card, not historic, remember that, from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast a historic spell, not an artifact, remember that, put a +1/+1 counter on Daring Archaeologist. Yeah, Daring Archaeologist is great. It's a 3/3 for 4, which is slightly overcosted, but you might get to return an artifact. Not many are going to end up in your graveyard, maybe like a Skittering Surveyor. But then if you are playing historic spells, she starts to get pretty darn out of control. I've actually played her with an On Sarah's Wings and immediately turning her into a 5/5 flying first strike, not first strike, vigilance, whatever On Sarah's Wings does, all those stupid keywords. She's great. She's definitely a first pick. And our gold card is Adeliz the Cinderwind. Adeliz the Cinderwind is 1 blue-red for a legendary creature human wizard. She's a 2/2 with flying. Flying, remember that, I never do. And haste, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, wizards you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. I would first pick Adeliz. The blue-red wizards deck is my favorite. It's one of the strongest in the formats when it comes together, and she is a key part of it. You are hoping that the rest of the pool has the cards to support it though, so it is a little bit dangerous. And against these cards, these monocolored cards, she's not really going to be in the conversation. So I think Baloth Gorger is out. I think we are stuck on these 2 white cards as our first picks, Daring Archaeologist or Sarah Angel. I think Daring Archaeologist has a slightly higher upside in that she could be a 5/5, 6/6, 7/7, who knows? But Sarah Angel is just 4/4 flying vigilance for 5 all the time, 100% of the time, and that's really darn good. So I think I'm actually going to go on the Sarah Angel because she goes in every single white deck, and you don't have to pick up any historic cards or potentially bad historic cards to enable her like Daring Archaeologist. But Archaeologist is close. so I could see it. Anyways, let me know what you would have taken there. Would you have taken the Archaeologist, the Angel, the Gorger? Would you have gone all in on Wizards and let other people fight over the white? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at the Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can also find me at facebook.com/ShamanaLeak, twitch.tv/ShamanaLeak, and patreon.com/ShamanaLeak, where if you become a $5 backer or above, you get entered in to get all the cards from the Cracker Packs, like Tom did this week. So check that out. If you like the content, click that thumbs up and click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.